4-star characters are the backbone of any gacha game, determining how much fun players will have early game before they have any 5 stars, as well as being the ultimate test to see how free-to-play friendly a character is, aka can this character perform with 4-star teammates as opposed to their limited 5-star counterparts. Which is why it's so jarring to see that Wuthering Waves has only released 2 new 4 stars since its launch. So this is quite a problem. Let's talk about it. First of all, we have to talk about why we even want to see 4-star characters in the first place. Obviously, 5-star characters are way more hyped up and usually generate way more revenue. So why is it such a big deal if we don't get any 4-star characters and everyone is just a 5-star? For all the free-to-play players in my audience, this question is a really easy one to answer, being the fact that 5-star characters simply just cost way more astrites to get. There's a reason that people ask, should I pull for this 5-star or this 5-star? And it's because it's just not that easy to get them. If we're talking about 4-star characters, a lot of people will just have the "we ball" mindset, where they do a couple 10 pulls and see what happens. But for a 5-star, the cost of failure is too great to see if you can truly risk it. 5-star characters are an investment at the end of the day. If you are not happy with the 5-star you get, you're going to be way more upset than if you get the wrong 4-star. So for a lot of people, 4-stars end up being the backbone of their account. And even in some games, 4-star are the backbone of the meta. Let's talk about a different game that doesn't exactly release that many 4-stars, being Honkai Star Rail. Its last 4-star was in September of last year, being Moza. And ever since then, the downward spiral that Honkai Star Rail has been experiencing has only been going faster and faster. When characters do not have competent 4-star supports, they become way more expensive to actually invest in, and then they end up costing more pulls than just getting the character and their weapon themselves. This leaves your savings drier and makes you unable to get other characters in the future that you want. And because you're unable to get those future characters, you start falling behind. Obviously, the situation is very different in Wuthering Waves. After all, in Wuthering Waves, we do not have bosses designed for specific DPS characters or anything of the sort. But you can see how a lack of 4-star characters can be a very big damper on the meta. We already have a couple of characters that are simply more expensive to use than others because they do not have suitable 4-star replacements. A big example of this is going to be Chong-Li. Almost all of her teams are running with other 5-star characters, and there's not really any options for if you're looking for a 4-star character if you're trying to play main DPS Chong-Li. Now obviously this is not the way she's primarily played, but still, if you do not have many 5-stars on your account, it's hard for Chong-Li to find use. The best 4-star character to run with her is going to be Sanhua, because Sanhua allows you to run double intro setups with your Chong-Li. This will speed up Chong-Li's rotation, as well as Sanhua's own rotation just being very fast. Sanhua also has 20% attack in her S6, but as you can see, this is a pretty surface level synergy, and is also one of the weakest Chong-Li teams in the entire game. And this team is going to struggle to clear the current content more than most teams in the game, because Chong-Li just doesn't really have good 4-star alternatives. You really want to play her with another 5-star. Now obviously, there are some incredibly strong 4-stars in the game already. The previously mentioned Sanhua is the biggest contender for best 4-star in the entire game. However, she's far from the only good 4-star. We also have Mortefi and Yang Yang as very good sub-DPS 4-star characters. There is also Donjin for all the Havoc DPS characters, and she can even be a DPS herself. So there is plenty of good 4-stars, but there's still some very significant gaps in our 4-star roster. And they're not really being addressed because we're not getting more 4-star characters. I think by far the biggest thing we're missing when it comes to 4-stars is someone who is capable of buffing Resonance Liberation damage. There are currently 3 characters in the game capable of buffing Resonance Liberations, being Chong-Li, Yinlin, and Jianxin, with 2 of those being limited 5-star characters, and one of those having a rotation so long she might as well be trying to play a main DPS herself. So we really have a big gap in terms of Resonance Liberation buffing. And guess what? if we're looking at 4 stars only, there is literally no one. And as usual, we can turn to Sanhua again for someone like Sheng Liao, because her rotation is just that fast. But if Sanhua becomes our answer to quite literally every single team that doesn't have a 4-star alternative, any teams that actually need Sanhua are going to be crippled. We simply need more 4-star alternatives. We also just don't have good skill buffers in the 4-star department. Taocha and Lumi do exist as skill buffers, however, their rotations are long and they're clunky to use. When we're trying to buff Carlotta or Jinshi, we sooner turn to Yang Yang or Yuanwu/Mortefi instead of going towards Lumi and Taocha, despite their buffs having bigger synergy with Jinshi. So can you really say that the skill buffing niche is covered when both of the skill buffers just are losing to nobodies who don't even have good buffs for the characters and only just have fast rotations with good damage? Despite there being good 4-stars in this game, there is definitely still gaps that are not covered, and the 2 4-stars that we got are simply not addressing this. We got Yohu in version 1.3, and in version 1.4 we got Lumi. These are the only post-launch 4-stars that we got in the game, and both of them are really bad. They're honestly just kind of inexcusable. While Lumi is a healer, aka a role that needed to be filled pretty desperately, she is a pretty bad one, finding herself in literally no teams as of now. There is not a single reason you would want to use Yohu over Baizha, because Baizha not only has a similarly fast rotation, if not faster, she also has a more universal buff, as well as extra buffing in her own kit. Yohu only gives damage amplification towards coordinate attacks, but there's not a single coordinate attack character whose damage is high enough to justify using Yohu over Baizha. And then there's also Verena, who, while she is a standard banner 5-star character, we literally got a standard banner 5-star character at launch for free. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but I'm pretty sure you can still claim the Verena. So ultimately, Yohu finds herself literally not having a single use case. And then there's Lumi. While Lumi can't technically buff skills, like I said, her rotation is just too long. She was designed to be a main DPS, which honestly is fair. Outside of Havoc Rover and maybe Donjin, the free-to-play DPS roster is a little bit questionable. If you count Augur, it gets a lot better, but still, all the other good alternatives are limited 5-stars. But Lumi's damage is pathetic. She's not even a good DPS. So honestly, she didn't fulfill either of the roles that she could have. She failed on every front. So why are both of the 4-stars that came out since launch so bad? There are clear holes that need to be filled in the roster, and Kuro just isn't filling them. We haven't gotten a single 4-star in Renacida, and we're not getting one in 2.3 either. So when are we going to get one? And when we do get one, are they even going to be worth using? Personally, I don't have much faith when it comes to Kuro Games' ability to make 4-star characters. In their other game, Punishing Grey Raven, almost all of their characters are S ranks, with the only A ranks being seen as breathers from pulling for S rank characters. But what do you think? Do you think Kuro Games is going to be making more 4-stars soon? And if so, do you think they're going to be good? Let me know in the comments below. Also, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel while you're down there. If you have any questions, be sure to join my Discord, which is linked in the description. I'm pretty active in there, so if you ask your question there, there's a pretty good chance I'll answer it. But that'll be all from me. Peace.